You must have.
I only have one copy of the issue that I wanted to bring up is in the building in the commissioner's chambers. Apparently it's
I only have one copy.
it's a bigger issue for the contractor to try and fix things. So when I talked to David, his concern was the windows behind him. And
The windows on this side of the building.
no, so the
Into the
chamber. So
because this is all
those,
glass.
yeah,
So it's the internal
glass.
wall,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
The internal wall is all glass. Oh, and someone could just look.
So staff
what do you
desk
do?
is on the wrong side is what you're saying.
Yeah, so the one option we looked at, we talked about blinds, and I don't know that makes a lot of sense. There's conflicts with doing that. So I talked about, well, what if we mirror it and flip it so that the bench, the back of people's backs is facing the outside windows on the second floor.
Right.
So I haven't confirmed with David that that's okay, but it
No,
seems like
that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It's doable. And
Yeah, just flip the thing if that's doable. Unless
he
there's
might
gonna
be
be
looking at
issues
something
with.
on his computer that people don't need to be peeking through the window
Right,
at.
right.
And he's probably of the same, I guess I would say, political mind that I am, is I don't want anybody looking at my back. I want to face them. I want to see who's coming.
yeah, it might be better anyway, because then everybody on the bench will face people coming into the room.
Yeah,
I think it's a much better.
yeah, I think it's a
plan.
better design anyway.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so I'll confirm that with David then. Because they're talking about wanting to close up and start sealing up the first floor, which is where the power and stuff has to come for this in the middle of February. And so if we delay contractors,
Yeah, so that's what it would.
that costs money for nothing. So anyway, I'm trying to get an answer on this.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Would be good to have power coming up both sides.
Yeah,
And have a little floor receptacle there, like where they were gonna come up, right?
yeah, there's two floor boxes.
Yeah, hopefully we're gonna end up with more power outlets and
Or what we have
little
now.
things that we have now. I'm like stealing from her over here.
Right. Well, I know, it's the, when this was built, this was probably, that was in the one outlet on a wall is,
Yeah.
what would you ever do with
Yeah.
all of
One light, come on.
That's all we
those?
do.
Right.
Okay,
Okay,
that's it. It was quick, but I
Yeah.
need to get it resolved so I can keep things moving.
you're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So you have, what's this other plug-in you talked about?
Oh,
That's your power
I
cord?
just have one plug down here.
Oh,
You wanna
okay.
plug more than one
Power,
now with
okay.
our, we
One
have
of them is
devices.
A major power cord that runs over to her stuff.
Yeah.
That's over here, so I have one little plug to run every device or charger or fan or anything I want.
You'll have your own plug-in. You'll be set. Everybody will. It'll
Well,
be
I figured, I mean, yeah,
much better.
or at least,
Yeah, thank you.
upper down
Sorry to keep you longer.
No,
there.
Appreciate it.
No, that was an easy one.
Okay, and you're okay with that too?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, and so I think we thought that the two seats closest to the board would be you and Ibby,
Okay,
and then the two farther away would be
Be that.
the,
legal counsel.
yeah,
that makes sense.
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wish
We
it
have to be
was,
within slapping distance.
I wish it was wide enough to keep it this way, but with the ADA on there, I realize we can't necessarily do that, so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Anything else before we adjourn? Again?
Now we gotta come up with something to do for 2.5 hours before my next meeting.
Well, there's always eating.
2.5 hours a week.
Well, raise the bar. I can eat for 2.5 hours. You gotta pace yourself.
You didn't wanna mention your,
Oh, you're concerned about EMS work, the
Oh, I thought I already
dispatchers.
did. I figured if somebody cared, they would, well, I wouldn't say if somebody cared. If anybody thought it was as big of a concern as I did, there would have been a big push. But I understand people think it's a concern, but I don't know if they think it's as big a concern. I guess I'd say I just don't want it to come back and have a COVID outbreak in EMS and not have 911 business.
Right.
well, Jeff's away on his
Right. I mean, I do think there is an argument to be made for the, not all essential workers are the same.
Right.
Is that there is a hierarchy of essential workers that some folks are, because of their training, you can't just replace them with a temp from, so you just can't.
You can't send half of the 911 crew home and expect to get a
Right.
sheriff's dispatch, medical dispatch, emergency medicine, or ambulances dispatch.
Right.
We could kill somebody by not getting that done, but that's just my opinion.
Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I got one more thing.
Yeah.
Or since it just came across my phone again, that, discussion that you were having about that house that had the septic issue
Oh, yeah.
up on Foster. I spent a good portion of yesterday with environmental health director and Lynn and tracking down the tenant and then tracking down the homeowner to try to get that resolved. And so I think we're making progress, and I saw an email Ibby sent that had the official somebody sent having an issue with it. So hopefully it'll get resolved here shortly.
So it's being resolved through health and not through nuisance,
Yes,
which is where it should be right now, I
which
think.
is where it is. It is a health hazard.
There's multiple ways to address that without opening up nuisance compliance and picking winners and losers.
That's the way I played it.
We have it closed, and let's go about it. Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Okay. Oh, I would update folks. Did hear back on the Kitsap. We are still in the game.
Okay.
So my calls were helpful. Where the Kitsap County Board did choose to not move forward. They asked a bunch of questions, which they sent back to staff when they kind of dug into the numbers. So again, it just means it could have been over
Right.
yesterday and it wasn't.
Maybe I had it wrong. So the bids were turned in and staff picked the other guys, but the
Right.
board haven't.
No,
And the board decided we want to hear more about this.
We wanna
I
hear
thought
more
the board picked the other and you were
No.
trying to change the board's mind.
no, it would have been too late.
Okay, so this is
No.
staff.
Yeah, the staff recommendation was to go
Status quo.
with the status quo, and they are able to, as we have discussed before, they actually had a scoring process set up so that it wasn't price only in the bid process. And so there were questions about how again, that's why it can be harder to do because the scoring criteria, then that was part of what the questions were. Well, how did this get this score? This got that? What was the criteria used? Who was the scoring? Who was the committee?
Mhm.
Where did those numbers come from? Because yes,
Who's related to who?
well, it's in the end, their recommendation was based on, the status quo had more points than Republic Services, than the cheaper one. And so that's why they went with the recommendation. And the board, I think, rightly said, let's dig into that. I want to understand how the scoring worked and why is it, because
They have to be able to defend their
Right.
position of the people in the newspaper, so.
right.
Well,
So it's an open question. So
3% a fair chunk of change
Yeah.
that they were
What
under.
numbers? Anybody done the math on that one?
That's what I was trying to.
for them, it's about over the 10-year period, the analysis between the rate was about $6 or $7 million. And then there was some other stuff in the capital expenditures they would have to do with the other proposal, which brought it was going to cost the county about $14 million more in the first 10 years to go with
That's ridiculous.
the other alternative, which obviously the ratepayers end up paying.
Yeah,
in
good
the-
luck
in the
explaining
fee.
that to the people.
So that's why I think they're asking questions on that. So we'll see. There was also in the staff memo made some assumptions about the 3.5% over time narrowed and crossed. And that was, they asked, well, how, because they were both proposals had CPIs written into them, so how would those numbers change over time? They shouldn't. Explain that, and they couldn't. And so they said, well, it was based on modeling, and so the board asked for more information. Explain the modeling and how, because that lessened the impact of the price change. If you could say, oh, well, 10 years out, it's the same.
We need a Lou up there that can go ask these questions immediately.
So, and I do know
Pressure on.
there has been some of the big users have now gotten involved because ultimately a fee increase would be passed on to them.
Right.
And they want some explanation. And then also the current waste contract is sent to Arlington Waste Management, which is non-union. And Roosevelt is union, and there's a local union in Kitsap County that's asking, hey, why are
It
you?
just seems so messy to say no to this.
So we'll see. I mean, all I was trying to do was to not have the game be over. I wanted
Right.
overtime. So we're at overtime. So we're still in the running, which that would be good because it's a new. That's,
My afternoon is with Gilmore up there, by
Yeah,
the way. So
that's
anybody-
that's what he had said both years. So
When is yours?
12:30.
those are your first.
I
So
tried to
hence
get
your
early,
2.5
you wouldn't
hours.
Go earlier than 2:00.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Your other staff person's going to be doing a medical procedure. She's gonna be out this week in February.
I saw that.
Would you mind if we change the 4th workshop to the 11th?
Would be smart.
Well, I got
No, I'm
other
fine
things
with
I
that.
need to
Makes
get
sense.
Going
I don't
on
have
this.
any issue with
What?
that.
What, do you have too much to do now?
No, I want to get through this shit and do it correctly. And I also wanted to clarify that I am helping Erin with that letter, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I think it's pretty much written. I think she will just sort of adapt what we've already sent.
I'm gonna say there's probably not much tweaking on the letter we already signed.
Just switch.
Well, I
out.
do like the board's input as far as really honing in and maybe not being so, I use most of the words from WASAC and
Right, right.
maybe a little more local flair in there.
Right.
You know, which I had said.
Did you really get pushback from people saying that was a political stunt? And really?
Yeah, I didn't think so.
See, I didn't look at it in.
I didn't either. That's why I was like, what? And they were folks that had watched us have the conversation at the board meeting. And it was like, yeah, I had a couple folks
Well,
talking.
that's kind of why I threw that out there. I'm like, I'd throw it in the letter. I don't care.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because, and I didn't get a chance to look through because some of them are numbers. I don't know who they are, but I think a couple of them were here today. So good that they heard that. So,
As far as moving the date, I'm fine with it if everybody else is fine with it.
I'm good. You're all right, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Cool, thank you, I appreciate that. We'll get a hold of Lynn
That'll make Lynn happy.
and other departments. Well, I figured she might need more time too.
Yep.
So.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
I would make a motion that I arm wrestled Jake for that 12 I'll second Jake's motion.
Otherwise, I'm gonna filibuster. We're gonna stay here until 2:00. Damn it. I'm not gonna second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. We're adjourned.